Want to beat your mates at fantasy football? I've got a little secret for you.
Fantasy Football Hub provides the artificial intelligence, recommended transfers, expert team reveals and more, all designed to help you win your mini-league.
Big beats.
If you don't win your mini-league, we'll even refund your membership. Sign up today for 50% off. Terms apply. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 3-for-1 Sky Fantasy Podcast from Fantasy Football Hub. Paul, have you had a nice break?
Yeah, I've not been off work or anything like that, so it doesn't feel like a break, to be honest.
A nice break from the football?
I've had a nice break from not looking at my Sky team and having Nakamba still there.
Yeah, you didn't. A popular move was Nakamba to Bissouma, wasn't it, on the weekend before the break?
Yeah.
You didn't do that. What was your thinking behind that, sort of interest?
I think there's a combination between me being stubborn, but also found this season more difficult than any other season in terms of what would my overhaul team look like at any stage, and I don't really know what the answer is. Every time I try and create a team, I don't like what the 11 looks like, and I'm more happy to hold off until I'm more clearer about that and then make transfers to build up that team. And it might mean that the extra budget from the Nakamba comes in handy for moving players around to fit that as well.
Fair enough. 21k at the first international break. I'm 13. I think we were both probably quite a bit higher this time last season, but I don't know. I'm normally a green arrow chaser every week, but I think this last year or so I've chilled out a little bit. I have no concerns about my rank whatsoever, I got to be honest, at this stage. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm the same. Did you see FF Stuff's thread about looking at where people finished
very briefly? Weren't you like 5k this time last?
5.5k. So I seen a few people getting disheartened, and they were higher ranked than me, had used less transfers than me at this stage last year. And this year it's much more grouped. Like I think one, and I don't mean like a total obscure captaincy pick. I think if you picked a 30% owned player and they had a mini haul on a captaincy day, perhaps that Haaland wasn't playing, you could easily make up kind of 10, 15,000 places. Yeah. I've got no real concerns about my current rank, and I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy to hold off and not chase anything just now. A lot, in previous seasons, I've always had a plan, and then regardless if the player I bring in gets 2 points, I know that I want that player longer term anyway. There was a stage that last year when we brought in the Arsenal players and brought in Nketiah, he didn't even have a good run, as in point scoring run, but I was still happy with that move. So he comes in, you get 2 points, then you look at your team for the following week, Nketiah's in there. Arsenal had good fixtures, so the fact that he only got 2 points in the first game almost seen as a bonus, and then you come into that. I've assessed every move that I've thought about making this year, and if I thought that the player would blank initially, I would have regret having done the move, and therefore I've just held off. And look, some of them would have paid off well immediately, and some not so much. But yeah, I'm pretty happy saving the transfers, and it's almost like a tactic within itself, and look where I can get the edge, perhaps somewhere else later down the season when things become a bit more clearer for me.
Makes sense. Good evening, everyone. Johnny White is in. John A. Conley, Alan Jago, Ian Parrin. Even all he says is tonight going to be renamed the 1 for 3 pod in recognition of the score at Hampden Park last night. Now, just remember, Paul doesn't take these things kindly, Ian. So if Paul's still here on the pod for the remainder, we've done well. Gary Plant is in. What's that?
I was making a joke in one of the WhatsApp chats that Billy Gilmore would get a Ballon d'Or before Jude Bellingham would. So that was before last night's game.
Paul Kendo, Dave Baxter. Jason Harry, Nick Stevens, Jason Manners, FPL Matty Winalot, Cameron Emery, Bobby Shearer, Owen Jones, Samuel White. Great to have you all with us as well as everyone else. Let's get into it. So first we got the player total points for the season so far. There's a few familiar names up there which you would expect, and maybe a few not so. Haaland, obviously, massive haul last week. 48 points going against Haaland for any period of time is just not advisable, right? And Rodri, probably surprisingly second, 42 points. He's also the highest for bonus points with 20. Obviously playing a bit more advanced this year, looks really good. A real surprise potentially, Christian Romero, 7.9 million. Not many bonus points, but I think has he got a couple of goals? He's definitely got one. I think he might have two. Yeah, so probably a bit. It's probably inflated. I think he's not going to score in 50% of his games the rest of the season, is he? Mbomo and Solly March, two kind of darlings from last year, are up there as well. 37 and 33 points respectively. Evan Ferguson, after his hat trick, 7.8 million. Jared Bowen is one I think we talked a little bit at the start of the season about him, but I don't think we've really kind of considered him a serious option apart from the captaincy away at Luton. Madison looks absolutely fantastic. 9.3 million. Only 5 bonus points though, interestingly. Looks like may have to rely on attacking returns. And Son Heung-min, who I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about in a little bit, just 9.7 million, up to 29 points, tied with Mo Salah. Saka's up there as well. Disasi, interestingly, 29, 12 bonus points. Do you think he keeps his place, Paul?
I mean, they have to revert to a back four like they were playing in pre-season, surely, and then his place is massively under threat. He's right-sided of the back four in the centre-half position, so you'd think if they did do that, then he'd be competing against Thiago Silva, and I'm not suggesting that Thiago Silva wouldn't get phased out at some point. He's 39, but is he going to miss every game? I don't think so. So it'll be very interesting to see how Chelsea line up defensively in particular on Sunday, I think. I had a look at the Chelsea fixtures, and I know we're going to talk about fixtures in a couple of slides' time, but whilst they've got good fixtures for the next 4, they go on a horrendous run thereafter. And I'm just not obviously not keen then to start loading up on any Chelsea players. I had considered Sanchez as a downgrade to free up some money from Onana, because you get that fixture gain as well, the Saturday to Sunday, and yeah, it just doesn't feel right. I think I certainly wouldn't be adding any more Chelsea to my current ranks.
Declan Rice also got 29 points, 15 bonus points.
Very good. Yeah, the bonus points interesting on Rice. So that was a big debate in pre-season about whether we thought that he could be a mini Rodri, if you like. And he certainly looks like he started the season that he could be.
Yeah, agree. He looks really good. Yeah, and then just having a look at the bonus points, Rodri tops expected. A real nice mix of bonus points as well, of passes, tackles, shots as well. He looks to be, assuming he keeps position, assuming he stays fit, he looks to be a really, really great and even better option than previous years, maybe. At just 9.4 million. Declan Rice, second bonus, again, a real nice mixture of points with passes, tackles, and shots as well. I think he could be popular moving forward. Once teams, Sky teams kind of settle down into their, their base of players, the staples in their team. I think 8.1 million. He looks superb. I don't think he's had an attacking return yet either, is he? So he's looking really, really good. As expected, Lewis Dunk up there for passing, 12. Disasi, Silva, both on 12. All passing. Saliba, Enzo passing. Ruben Diaz passing with a bit of tackles. Haaland. Shots. Bissouma mainly tackles with a bit of passing. So it looks like he's had the most tackle bonus so far. I think he got 59 passes last week, which is frustrating for myself and many others who brought him in on the Saturday. Just missed out on the bonus there. And Casemiro, again, a real nice balance of bonus there amongst passes, tackles, and shots. And then Leno, Vicario, and Alisson, Fodringham, Sarr, and Neto have all got 9 and 8 points respectively for saves. Anything stand out for you on the bonus, Paul?
No, I know there was a question about Enzo Fernandez. Again, I've talked about that run coming up for Chelsea, but then he may pick up more tackle bonus on that. It'll be interesting to see how, again, when Chelsea are settled, how they line up. Does Enzo play more further forward, and is that going to increase his goal threat over time as well? Yeah, I'm keen. I'm still keen for more information on Chelsea before making any decisions on what I think I'd want from them longer term.
David in the chat has just corrected me. Rice obviously scored against United, which I forgot about. So yeah, Rice has got an attack in return. Yeah, again, like Rice.
I thought you were talking about I thought you were talking about Casemiro when you said that. When you said 8.1.
He's the same price in here.
But he's also got an attack. But he's also got an attack in return as well, has he not?
He has.
I don't know.
He has. Yeah. Good stuff. Average transfers remaining. The top 5,000 are hearing off, especially the top 1,000. Again, engaged managers should probably not look at these and think, oh, I've got a few transfers to spare here, because all these teams, or the vast majority, will drop off completely in the coming months. But top 5,000, 39.2. Top 1,000 already used an average of 14.5 transfers each in 4 weeks. Top 100, 33. Top 10, 31.5. Yeah, I think we just like to look at these to make us feel a little bit better sometimes, don't we? But these are not the people which we will be competing against come the end of the year. They may be a lucky couple, who continue to thrive, but it's incredibly unlikely.
I think this will possibly be a misquote, but on that thread that FF Stuff done, there was only one person that started at this point was in the top X. So say it's 1,000. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it was something like that finished in the top 100 come the end of the season.
There we go. Okay, interesting. Fixtures. Yeah, you touched on Chelsea, and after the next 4, they become tough. I've also noticed the 3 of the next 4 are also away as well, and they hardly look tight, right? Do they? And in 3 of the next 4, they play Bournemouth away on Sunday. Now, I expect Bournemouth to score, personally, in that game. They've then got Villa. I expect Villa to score. And then they're away to Fulham. And the way that Fulham have also been, I expect Fulham to score as well. Away to Burnley, maybe, but I agree with you on the Sanchez pick. And potentially on the, I've been an hour on who to get rid of for a Wanye on Monday. Colwell's price is something which keeps kind of reeling me in. But I think even if he is at that price, the way that Chelsea are defending, their short-term away fixtures and longer-term fixtures in general, and the fact that I don't think that we actually need, lots of budget. I think obviously Kane moving on has completely opened the game up in terms of not needing lots of enablers. I think I'm stuck on selling Colwell. What's your thinking? Sorry, on Chelsea then.
Yeah, need to be a little bit careful because Chelsea do play Fulham on that single game day in game week 8 on the Monday, and I definitely don't want to be dipping back into Chelsea at that point.
Should have mentioned I've got Jackson as well for that.
Yeah. And Chilwell's well owned, and Sanchez all have owners as well. So in general, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. And I suspect that Jackson will play. Will continue to play even though he's not been finishing the chances that he's been getting. So yeah, I don't mind the Colwell to a Wanye move. If you're going in Forest, there is an argument that if you've already got Mbeumo, do you need Forest instead? Could you go Burnley if you didn't have Luton? I think that's a viable tactic. I think Bear's probably the best option there. 6.6, same price as Nakamba. He has been close to and hitting passing bonus in other games and picked up tackle bonus as well. I wouldn't want to go and punt on a forward knowing that I'd need them for a second single game day and hoping that he's still in the team. So definitely a few options there. Something that I've semi-considered, I'm not saying that I'm definitely going to do this, and I'm probably favouring to not do it, but it's definitely an option, is I've had a look at when I think that I would captain players over the next 4 game weeks, and I don't think I would captain Saka beyond this Sunday. And I have toyed with the idea of doing Saka to a Awoniyi. That frees up a lot of budget for me. And then I could go into Spurs next Sunday, so on the week after, and Sky Game Week 7, use a player that plays on the Saturday, and then upgrade to Son or Maddison. The one problem I've got is that the player I was going to get rid of was Nakamba to a Spurs attacker, but then they have that single game day. Not that I would pin any hopes on Nakamba pulling up trees in that game anyway, but it's something I've toyed with and thought about as an option and way to free up money. The fight, so I've written down the 5 questions that I've been asking myself most over the international break, and it's: how did I get on Spurs? Where did I downgrade to free up cash? Why on earth do I still own Nakamba? What would my overhaul team look like if I was to do it right now? And who do I think the best keeper to own is? And I know that people listening to this podcast want answers to these questions. I want answers to these questions as well. And I think what I'm saying is, I actually don't know. Getting on Spurs feels the most natural thing would be in Sky Game Week 7. So is there a move that I do before that? And perhaps that's that same of who do I downgrade to free up money? So it's definitely an option, and not one I would steer people away from if they were thinking of doing that in terms of downgrading Saka. And I've already mentioned the kind of answers to the other ones. I'm not sure on the best keeper to own. I'm still not very clear. I know Fleckham is an option that I could move Onana to, but then after Man United play on Saturday, they've got a pretty good fixture run after it.
Yeah, I've got a very good run. Burnley, Palace, Brentford and Sheffield United.
And I'm still weighing up whether I think that I'm being overly stubborn or whether it's sensible to do, because I'm not sure. You know, if I go in and bring in Fleck and he gets 1 point on Sunday, and I don't actually have that money banked and earmarked for a specific move, would I regret it? Quite possibly. So
it makes sense to hold, mate. I think it always makes sense to hold, and you know, I know that daisy chaining is obviously a thing, you know, any time of the season. But at this time of the season, as we can see from the fixture count, you know, from now until the next international break, okay, Luton and Burnley play 7 times, all the other teams play 6 times, and in the second half season, we know we'll see massive. Some play 5, some play 2, some play 3, some play 1. And I think in terms of fixture gains, I know you can get the 1 fixture gain for lots of players here. I get that, but not a massive fan of trying to manipulate things just to make changes, just because you feel you have to. I'm thinking of probably doing a Nana to Pope. I think I get the 1 fixture gain, but I just also think that the way United are defending compared to Newcastle's XGC, which is still really, really good, I just fancy Pope to significantly outscore Onana over a grander period of time.
Next game week 7.
The Sheffield United game. But it's not. But again, you look after that, and after that game, United have got a 2-for-1 back over Newcastle. So it's just there's no massive gains to be had unless you're daisy chaining, right? There's only the maximum of 1 fixture you can gain. So I think unless you've got a plan, you really want to and commit to a grander plan to release funds to bring in, you know, another player. I just don't see the point in making changes for change's sake, really. It's I've done it in other games. I've done it in Telegraph. I've held on to Rashford for weeks and weeks and weeks. I just haven't known who to go to. And then he ends up scoring last week, and now he's got a nice home fixture, a home to Brighton. And all of a sudden, I'm like, do I actually want to actually do that move anymore? I don't know. And I've saved a transfer and got a few points in the bank as well. It's kind of a similar thing, isn't it? It's funny how it works out sometimes when you just hold on. I'll never forget in Telegraph years ago, I used 20 transfers I'd have had more points if I'd have used none. That's the knot I got myself in. So and it can happen in Sky as well. Anyway,
a few other things to note here for me then. So I talked about Bear there. Another reason why I actually don't mind that move to Bear is that nobody, like right now, none of us really want defenders. We want to be loading up the attacking positions. That if you can manipulate it so that you're in a back three and Bear your 6.6 million player is in defence, then there's a lot more money to free up on the attacking options. Who picking up a lot there as well. So that was my kind of last point on Burnley. Spurs on next week, and I was talking about that in the Canva to a Spurs attacker move, which I'm probably not going to do now. There's very few highly owned players that play on the Saturday that's going to be available to move on to Spurs as well. So I still think that people will dip into Spurs, but at the expense of not picking up an extra fixture when moves, just because I don't think there's that many options that of highly owned players or even kind of medium level owned players that people are going to move into there, and that's the problem that everyone's got as well. And the more I think about it, the more that I like that as well. That it's not, I can't come on this podcast like maybe I've done in previous seasons and say, look, this is the plan, this is where the fixture is, and this is where you have to get on the players and go through. And it's just there's just not opened up like that this season, which can only be a good thing in my opinion, to kind of open it up and not have everyone having the same team, and like the template 11 players aren't all 50% owned in the game. Right. I think it's a good thing. Villa and Liverpool's fixtures from Sky Game Week 11 are incredible, and using transfers on Spurs and other teams just now, it's always like, and I say this myself, like I use transfers now to set up my team right, but the fact that I don't know what my team setup is, and knowing that there's good opportunities coming up to use transfers again, means that my team setup might be from Game Week 11 onwards rather than Game Week 6 onwards, and I think I'm okay with that. Villa's fixtures are great as well, and they've got a single game day against West Ham on Game Week 11 just after the break. I know, like, obviously we'll speak more about this at the time and such like, but I'm just thinking that the transfer preservation now, meaning that I can use 2 or 3 to restructure when it might become more apparent what my optimal overhaul team would look like around about that time is part of the reason for holding off as well. Yeah.
What about the keepers?
Yeah, I generally don't know. I had considered, before Forest signed another keeper, I had considered now dipping in and going to Matt Turner, but the consensus amongst those Forest fans that are active on Twitter, particularly in the kind of FPL circles, are suggesting that whilst he's not done anything wrong and he might keep his place in the short term, that it's very likely that he'll get displaced in that Forest side. So he's off the cards. I mentioned Sanchez, he's off the cards. Flecken is still of interest. Brentford's fixtures are kind of mixed, and then I know they go on a not too pleasant run beyond the international break. I just don't know. And I don't know, Man United's got a good run just now, and a lot of people are holding on to Nana and are kind of annoyed by doing so, but I think personally I'm just going to hold them.
I think United concede in 3 of the next 4. I think they concede against Brighton. I think they got a chance of a clean sheet against Burnley. I think they concede against Palace. And I think they concede against Brentford.
Everyone seems to be conceding.
They do.
Like all
teams. They do. That's fair. It is
fair. And I do think the move to Pope's a good shout. He is on the pricier side, 7.6 million, but I do think that's a good shout next weekend.
It's a maybe, but I think this game is. I think it's morphed in the last year or so. I think COVID has helped us realize that you don't need to potentially plan 4 weeks in advance anymore or 6 weeks in advance. I think that it's helped coach us into think that things change quickly. Even now, I did Nakamba to Basuma, thinking what a smart move last week, and now all of a sudden, now Richarlison's dropped, Son's gone up front. I could have potentially have done, I don't know, Estupinian to Bayer and Nakamba to Son. You know, I don't know how the maths works out, but that's how quickly things change. Is that I'm not regretting the Basuma move, because I still think he's a really great asset in this game, but they're the kind of things that change week to week, and I've noticed it in my team reveals for the hub as well. I used to prescribe my exact moves, what I was going to do a couple of years ago, and I just can't do it anymore. I have to say, this is what I'm thinking about, but I'll be making my decision on the day, because things change so quickly in terms of the team you're back in, the player you're back in, the team you're playing against. You know, that I'll never forget that Callum Wilson against Leicester towards the end of last season was an absolute banker, but Leicester suddenly were scrapping for their lives and had to turn up, and they did. And there's things like that which just changed, don't they? So, you know, Son has gone from a nothing option now to probably everyone's trying to work out a way to get him in as quickly as they can inside a week. So,
I mentioned Villa and Liverpool there, and look, I might hold an Anna until Sky Game Week 9, Sky Game Week 11, and make the move there. There's a natural point. I know that they would play Brighton first in Game Week 9, where I could move Onana to Alisson, and then Liverpool are on an incredible run after that. So it's definitely an option. Like, I'm just looking down the clubs just now, and I'm thinking, like, Fleck. I'm not against Flecken, and I'm not particularly against Areola as well. I guess that's another option in there, but I'm not wed to either of them. It's not like, oh, that feels like a really good transfer just before they hit a nice run of fixtures and perhaps pick up a captaincy day. It doesn't strike me like that.
Good stuff. A couple of players on the shopping list have put up Maddison, Son, and Owonyi. You know, obviously amongst others, but Maddison and Son and Spurs in general, which is great as a fan, because I haven't enjoyed watching Tottenham since the Pochettino era, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it at the moment. Is there an argument to bring either of these guys ahead of Sheffield United at home on the weekend? I suppose is the first question. And you can't say unless you've got an injury. Or do you think you just have to wait till?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like taking players out before they've played, but certainly if there's a bit of money there, or you've got a player that you don't know start. Like I think a few people moved into Gvardiol from Man City. Is he definitely going to? In fact, is that the early kickoff on? No, it's Wolves Liverpool. So if you're unsure that he's going to start and formation allows, then I could see a route of moving to one of them as well.
There's an argument.
I do think
to captain him on the Saturday as well, ahead of Haaland. Is Haaland playing on the Sunday? Sorry, I'm going up in front of.
No, Haaland's playing on Saturday as well.
Way to West Ham doesn't strike me as like an easy fixture.
Yeah, he scored a double there last season, but not like.
Oh, was that opening game of the season?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I remember that. Imagine you captain Son and he comes up like the Spurs lineup and he's playing out on the left. Oh no, yeah, exactly. So, yeah,
that's fair.
Look, there's like this game's measured by outcomes more often than it is by analysis and what we'd do beforehand. I would probably not captain a Spurs player, probably captain Haaland on Saturday. And I possibly wouldn't advise against moving away from that as well. I just think his ownership's still too high, that the level of regret against the level of elation of doing so would far outweigh it for me.
I love your emotional barometer, which you use to make decisions. Absolutely brilliant.
Do you know that Arsenal haven't won at Everton since Arsene Wenger left?
I didn't.
So if you were doing something that was more bold than Saka to Son or Maddison, no fixture gain, and then you come into next week and you've got like the Spurs player in from then. I don't play the game that way though, so I wouldn't do so. And I'll probably captain Saka on Sunday even with that tidbit of them not beating Everton at Goodison. 5 years, I think it is, since Wenger left.
Okay. I also saw a stat on the weekend. I was looking at some of the hub stats earlier this week, and I'm pretty sure Everton have got I think it's the 4th or 5th highest non-pen XG in the league over the first 4 game weeks. Which sounds crazy, I know. But
yeah, did Leno not make 9 saves in open game week or something like that and Fulham on 1-0? Or something like
I think Everton score against Arsenal. I think the Saliba clean sheet, which we were messing around with last week, is going to get bust this weekend.
Well, Saliba's another option for potential losing for one of the Spurs midfielders or attackers.
Who do you prefer out of Son and Maddison?
And this is the difficulty in that if Son plays for the middle, like absolutely Son. I think with the saving and the way that Postecoglou gets his attacking midfielders into the box late, I'd probably just go Maddison, I think.
I must say I was quite surprised at Maddison's lack of bonus, would I say would be the only thing. Only 5 bonus points in 4 games, considering how he's been playing and stuff. That's the only thing I would be a bit. I was expecting a bit more.
He's only going to pick up shooting bonus, though, right? He's not like playing an attacking midfielder. He's never going to pick up passing, and he's never been known for tackles anyway. And in that set of games, one of the games was against Man United.
Would you prefer
as well
one of those two, or Rice as a longer term option?
I think if you look at game week 9. I think that a Spurs player away to Luton is the best captaincy option. And therefore, I would say one of the Spurs attackers for that reason. But again, if it's long term, as in you're bringing Rice in and you're never ever going to transfer him out, then for sure. But
I think he's one of those players, though, in the kind of Rodri and Bissouma and Dunk sort of kill on. If you brought him in, you're not bringing him in for a good fixture run because he gets the tackles and that anyway, so it doesn't matter, does it? Let's have a look at the weekend's games. Saturday, Wolves against Liverpool, West Ham, Man City, Spurs, Sheffield United, Brighton. Joe, I'm loving all the 3 o'clock games. I've noticed this season we've had some cracking 3 o'clock games. Look at this: Man City play, Tottenham play, Man United, Brighton all play at 3 o'clock, and Villa and Palace as well. Really good. Fulham and Luton play as well, and then Newcastle and Brentford. Newcastle have had some tough games, haven't they, to start off with? That Brentford one is not easy either. I think next week away Sheffield United on the Sunday obviously gets a bit easier. Haaland, captain. We kind of touched on Spurs. Anything else to kind of note for that day?
Yeah, and the Camboff, 3 tackles.
3 Also, he's had 9 in is it 9 in 3 games? So he's averaging 3, isn't he? Unbelievable. Yeah. He's been unlucky there, haven't he? Kind of not much else really to say there. Would we haven't mentioned Salah at all. Obviously, he takes up a lot of budget. Don't think from memory he's needed for captaincy. Kind of obviously anything of taking out Salah at any point, or would you just say because you're going to want him back game week 9 or 10 to leave him?
Well, I'm thinking of captain him next week.
Okay.
On the Sunday. So for that reason, I've not considered taking him. And I know that they then play Spurs and Brighton away, but after the international break, and they play on a Saturday, so you can't get a fixture game to do like a 3-for-1 to move back onto them. I wouldn't be going without for a period of time as well. So you'd be banking another transfer in, and if you were using the budget perhaps on a couple of moves to upgrade rather than one, you have to make 2 moves to get them back type situation.
And then moving on to Sunday, as Chris rightly says, Super Sundays are really super anymore, are they? We've got Bournemouth and Chelsea at 2 o'clock and Everton, Arsenal. Probably with Saka's ownership, I'd probably guess he'd be the most popular captaincy option.
He's less frustrating to watch than any of the Chelsea players as well.
He is indeed. How many bookings is Jackson on? Is he on like 3 or something stupid like that?
Yeah,
crazy. 3 in 4 games. Yeah.
Remember we had the conversation about Chilwell, and look, we're going on a small sample size, so I'm not overly boasting or anything like that. But I didn't think that it was a particularly great move to be bringing him in, and I'd say he's proved me right so far. I mean, he's performed better than any of the players that I would have taken out for him, so there is that counter argument. But I think he's just got the one clean sheet in like kind of the 3 games that we've talked about when Chelsea had nice fixtures over that time.
And he's been brought off early in a couple of those. I think one of was like the 61st minute or something. So yeah, he's agree there. And then Monday, Forest and Burnley. So we've touched on Awonyi and Bayer and stuff. What's your thinking on this match?
Yeah, I think there was a question came in about Trafford as well, but I'd also heard, I think this was on one of the Planet FPL pods, that there was concerns from Burnley fans that, well, not concerns from Burnley fans, but there was thoughts that he could lose his place. They've still got the guy who was in goals in the Championship that done well last year, and he was displaced, but Trafford hasn't looked particularly assured at the start of the season, and yeah, therefore I wouldn't be keen on bringing him in. I just Gibbs White, but in all seriousness, I think Awonyi and Bear are the only 2 that I have any interest in whatsoever.
Would you be leaning towards?
Awonyi, it's like 7 goals in his last 5 games now. No, wait, 9 goals in his last 7 games. Right, he scored on 7 games unbounced.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, I think I'm doing Colwell too. Awonyi. I've got SGP. We have got a question off Andrew McGill actually. He says, if you held both Dunk and Estepina, would you look to move one of them on given Brighton's upcoming tough run? I've been really considering taking on Estepina, but it just seems like one of those. You know what you said about the ones that could just spectacularly backfire. Just because there's no real outstanding better option. You know, if you go up to a Spurs midfielder, for example, then maybe. But other than that,
that could get reversed again next week. You know, like if Maddison, what would be like? I'm saying realistic. What would be a good return for Maddison this week? At 10 points, you would probably take, right?
Yeah, I think
yeah. And then they're away to Arsenal next week, and Brighton's at home to Bournemouth. Like I could see that getting reversed and Estupinian picking up 10 points in that game. Maybe it's I think Brighton play on Sunday next week rather than Saturday as well, so it then gets tricky to hop off to get extra gains.
I think as well.
I do see the merit in losing one for a period of time as long as there's a plan and you're not using too many transfers, reconfiguring things around.
Yeah, I think as a holder, I think I'm gonna. At the moment, I'm thinking of holding on to them both. Obviously, things might change, right? But Brighton's fixtures, I think this might be game week 11 or something. They just go really nice again. Unless your opinion's kind of player you are going to want. So from Sunday the 29th of October, they go Fulham, Everton, Sheffield United, Forest, Chelsea, Brentford. I mean, you're going to want him in that run, right? I know the fixtures before that are tough. But as you say, they're away to United, which you're going to hold him for anyway. They're then home to Bournemouth. You're going to want to hold him for that. And then they have Villa, Liverpool, and Man City. But judging by Villa and Liverpool's defence so far, it wouldn't be that thing about having Estupinian, to say he won't get any kind of attacking returns. And Man City, fair enough. But I just think you're going to want him back anyway. So he's just.
Would you consider losing Dunk?
No. Again, I just think it's just asking for trouble. Personally, it's just a staple.
It was a typical Dunk performance against Scotland last night. Like 90 passes and then concedes 1 goal.
But for 8.3 million, 5 points minimum every week, you just take it right off. 4 or 5 minimum. That's the absolute minimum, by the way, isn't it? You take it every week, wouldn't you? And again, if he does go on a bit of a run and you haven't got him and he starts smashing in 9 and 10 pointers, you're going to feel the pain. So again, I think it just feels like it's asking for trouble a little bit. Yeah. Got some questions. Let's try and go through the ones we haven't answered. Simon says, holding a Cameron's game week 8 before finally bidding for Diaby now looks a reluctant path. Any alternative paths you are considering? Yeah,
Well,
Paul, this is you, I suppose.
If I did Saka to 1U, which, as I say, is something I contemplated or had a think through, I could move Nakamba to Tottenham midfielder, Maddison or Son, next week. So that's something that I could do, but I'm likely just to roll like very, very similar plan. I think moving on to Diaby in either Sky Game Week 9 or Sky Game Week 11, Luton play on the first day and Villa play on the second day, both days. So, yeah, that's definitely like a rough plan of mine. Is something similar to that as well.
FPL Fabinho, who's having a fantastic start in all fantasy formats this season. I think he's actually top, Paul, of the ultimate leaderboard. So very well played, Arwin. Is it time to go big on Spurs with both Son and Maddison, or wait until the Arsenal Liverpool fixtures are done? I think sounds like, well, I don't know. I think we're concurring. It doesn't, maybe no massive rush in this format anyway. But go on.
The Arsenal Liverpool fixtures wouldn't hold me back from an offensive point of view. It's who I would take out to get to them. I think it's a bigger problem.
I agree with that. Let's just have a look, see if we've got any more that we haven't answered. We've answered the ones on Spurs. Andrew Lee, Burnley v Luton, is it a skip for both of you? I haven't really looked that far forward, but I don't think I'll be skipping, because I'm looking at Luton's fixtures from now. I know they haven't been great so far, but from now they're away to Fulham, home to Wolves, away to Everton. But that run there, they'd be home to Burnley, then they'd have Spurs, then they'd be away to Forest. They have got a 3-for-1 over certain teams, and there's also daisy chain opportunities. You can daisy chain off a 1-year potentially, or something like that.
It's just unfortunate they always play on the first calendar day of the game week, because even moving on to someone like Morris is going to be difficult.
Or you could move on to Diaby on Sunday, the 22nd, for example, if you were looking for Villa, or maybe something along those lines potentially. But I think I'll be. I think at this moment I'll be going in, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see. How about yourself, Paul?
I'm most likely going to keep Nakamba.
So you go for 4 points then, yeah? Mac?
2 when he gets booked.
Mac PMC. What is the longest you would hold on to an underperforming player for a future single game day?
It's so if this might relate to Nakamba, is Nakamba underperforming, or is his output what is more decisive? Because he's averaging, as we said earlier on, he's averaging 3 tackles a game. It's just unfortunate that the net amount of tackles he's had every game has been 3, rather than picking up tackling in 2 and then having 2 tackles in another game. And he's 6.6. He's one of the cheapest starting players in the game.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold him, and like I said earlier on, maybe there's a bit of stubbornness in this as well, and I fully accept that might be the case. But I
think the expression on your face shows a bit of stubbornness. You went, "I'm going to hold him."
Yeah, I just think if I was looking at underlying stats rather than looking at points gained, and I saw a player was getting 3 tackles a game and he was 6.6 million, and there was an upcoming captaincy where I didn't want any other player from it, in all other circumstances, I would hold.
GG Magpie, is Johnston to Trafford a smart move, given Burnley's extra fixtures and the doubts of a Johnston start in place? And then move on to Vicario. We haven't mentioned Vicario, but he looks good as well. He looks sharp. 7 million, cheap.
I do think that Spurs are going to start conceding at some point, and and he's 7 million. Is that cheap? I don't know. I like goalkeeper transfers, and I've went on record for saying this in the past, but with the lack of clean sheets and there's a lack of saves bonus as well seems to be around. There was like, even looking at the bonus points, there's 6 keepers on it, but none of them are in the top 10, when usually we see the keepers higher on that in previous seasons as well. I did mention, and this is not coming from my own analysis, but one of the Planet FPL pods I was listening to, that Trafford's minutes might be under risk, or his place might be under risk soon. I think that was maybe speculation on his performances rather than anything else. So that'd be something I'd be wary of. I personally don't particularly like that move.
Craig Smart says, question for Paul. How do you know Simon Brownhill? He's one of my local postmen.
He's a friend of a friend. So I've mentioned before that when I finished 4th in Sky about 10, 11 years ago, Luke Williams was doing the articles. He was one of very few content creators on the Sky game at the time. And my name came up, and then he contacted me, and I joined the WhatsApp group. One of the guys that I'm good friends with now on the WhatsApp group's from Birmingham, and he knows Simon Brownhill. So, and I know Simon Brownhill plays fantasy, so that was kind of connection.
Thanks for that. FPL Commander, I can only go from Jackson to a 1 year. That will be the only one I can possibly transfer out on Monday night. Is it sensible? That Chelsea and Fulham fixture a couple of weeks down the line immediately springs to mind.
Yeah, and I'm guessing the reason is that you're tied to 3 up front already, and perhaps you've got Alvarez or something like that, maybe. Like, Jackson's got a haul in him, right? Like, I think
he's been unlucky.
Over the next 4, I suspect he might get something. Would I do that? I think I would go if you had Mbuemo in your team. I know that's an if, can't see the team. I would go Bear. The reason I'm saying Mbuemo is because the Forest Brentford single game day coming up as well. If I didn't, and therefore you kind of need a Forest player, then I probably would.
Max asks about Enzo. Whether to hold or not.
I would just think he's never gonna, he's not a player you made this point earlier on. He's not a player that you get in for fixtures or with a view of him getting a haul and then getting on in the back of it. I think it's just a set and forget.
I do, but I also think if we talked about maybe, I don't know, Watkins or Diaby or a Liverpool player or something. But I think when the time is right, if he's still not performing, you could then move him on. But I wouldn't just move him on if I wouldn't just switch him out for like a Basuma, for example. It's just, I think it'd be very like for like, personally. Bob Jasks is asking a fixture question. I don't think we're the one for that, but is it possible that one of the 2 single game days and Sundays could have an extra fixture added? I have no idea. I don't know if you
there was a reason. There was a reason why. Ian Pan mentioned at one point there was a reason why the Sunday game on the 22nd of October is because of the Ryder Cup, I think.
Okay.
And Sky's coverage of that, and therefore they didn't want a 4:30 game.
And yeah, we've answered the rest of the questions. Superb. So thank you to everyone who sent in all those questions. We really, really appreciate it.
We were speaking about this on off air at the start, but for anyone interested, hopefully my sound's better from the microphone. But with the reason being, I've stacked 10 books underneath it, and it's up near my face.
It's only, how many years have we been doing this now, Paul?
3, is it? Like about
3, maybe 4
episodes. Yeah, something like that.
How many years have I been bitching at you to put the mic closer to?
How many times have you promised that you're going to buy a new microphone from the hub?
You don't need a microphone. Your microphone is fine. You just need to put it to your mouth. Look at me. Look at this.
But you told me that you were gonna do it. I didn't even ask. You said that you were going to do it.
Okay, fair enough. That's a fair point. But yeah, a tip for any podcast or YouTuber or potential one: speaking to the microphone. Don't be like Paul. Don't be like Paul in that way. Speak into the microphone. That's what it's there for. Because if you don't, this is what you sound like.
Oh God! Go do your Mike Myers. So I married an axe murderer impression.
What's the first word? Something heat, paper, no. Classic, absolute classic. Anyway, speaking to the mic, Paul. Before we go live every single week, I bitch to Paul about speaking to the mic. Make sure you speak into the mic every single week. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Really, really appreciate you joining us. And thank you, Paul. Where can people find you?
On Twitter at Paul McAnulty 1 MCANULTY.
My handle on Twitter is H_Fergi. Apologies for Paul's laggy video. It's my fault. It's always down to the weather. If it's a bit too warm, my laptop overheats and we tend to get a bit of lag, so it's very, very warm. So that's why Paul's a bit laggy.
I thought you were being sarcastic, and it was actually my fault.
No, it's not. It's not your fault. You're absolutely fine. It's the lag between Zoom and OBS is what's causing the lag. So, but your audio has been fine, and your advice, as usual, has been absolutely spot on. So that's the most important thing. My handle on Twitter is at TFF_Fergi. Drop us both a follow. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. Be much appreciated, and to subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast version. Leave us 5 stars. Leave us a nice comment. That'd be nice. Just say, really, really enjoy your, really enjoy your content, guys. Best podcast out there and all that jazz. We really appreciate it. We will be back next week, previewing probably Monday, Paul, if that works for you. I think.
Yep.
Back to Monday as usual. We'll be back next week previewing Sky Game Week 7. We wish you the very, very best of luck for Sky Game Week 6. Goodbye for now.